The heart does not wake up in silence. Before the first decision of the day, the body is already changing pressure, rhythm, and circulation. And one normal morning habit can matter more because of the moment it happens. You know that opening statement right there? That is the absolute foundation of what we're uncovering in this explainer today. We so often think of mornings as this gentle, quiet transition, a totally fresh start, but internally, for your cardiovascular system, the moment you open your eyes is actually a period of profound physiological shifting. It's essentially a biological storm of changing hormones, fluid levels, and vascular resistance. So let's dive right into this because the specific habit we need to examine is something so many of us do without a second thought. The alarm rings and immediately, like you're responding to a fire alarm, do you just swing your legs over the side of the bed and stand up abruptly? You're literally in vertical motion before your brain is even fully conscious. Now, I get it. It feels like discipline, doesn't it? It feels incredibly efficient. But adopting this particular habit while your body is still deeply transitioning from sleep is exactly what we need to reevaluate for the sake of your long-term cardiovascular health. The reason that sudden, abrupt movement matters so much is that your body doesn't just turn on like a light switch. Actually, it's a lot more like a large house where the power has to come back online room by room. First, your circadian rhythm triggers a massive release of cortisol, the stress hormone, which can spike by 50 to 60% within just 15 minutes of waking. Then your autonomic nervous system forcefully shifts from its rest and digest mode directly into fight or flight, bringing this big surge of adrenaline. Your heart rate increases and your blood vessels begin to constrict, so your body is already working incredibly hard just to manage this baseline wake-up sequence. Think about the physics of it for a second. For the last 7 or 8 hours, you've been resting in a state of horizontal equilibrium. In that state, your blood is distributed pretty evenly throughout your entire body. Gravity just isn't aggressively pulling it in any one direction. But the very second you stand up, you introduce a sudden, jarring gravitational shift. You're taking a cardiovascular system that is right in the middle of its complex hormonal wake-up sequence, and you're forcing it to immediately adapt to the physics of standing upright. And here's what that actually looks like mechanically. When you jump right out of bed, gravity instantly pulls up to 1 full liter of your blood straight down into the veins of your legs and your abdomen. 1 liter. That is a massive, instantaneous redistribution of your blood volume in a fraction of a second. Your heart suddenly has significantly less blood returning to it, which means naturally it has less blood to pump upward to your brain. So the crucial point here is the physical consequence of that fluid drop. In the medical world, this is called orthostatic hypotension. It's simply a sudden, significant drop in blood pressure that happens when you stand up too fast. When that liter of blood drops, the brain, which absolutely requires constant, uninterrupted blood flow, experiences a momentary deficit. This is the exact mechanism behind that familiar morning dizziness, maybe some blurred vision, or that weird feeling of weakness in your legs right after getting out of bed. And it may heavily strain the cardiovascular system as it violently rushes to compensate. To understand exactly how your body handles a sudden drop, we need to talk about your baroreceptors. These are basically your body's internal pressure sensors, and they're tasked with detecting drops in blood pressure and immediately telling the heart to beat faster to fix it. In a highly elastic, younger cardiovascular system, these sensors react almost instantly. But over decades of nonstop work, as mature adults naturally develop slightly less elastic arteries, these sensors can experience a little bit of a lag. They function kind of like a smoke detector with low batteries, right? They still work perfectly fine, but they sound the alarm just a moment too late. And it's during that brief lag that the brain registers a lack of oxygen. When those slightly delayed sensors finally do sound the alarm, the nervous system essentially panics. It floods the body with a massive surge of adrenaline to forcefully jack your blood pressure back up. Your heart is basically forced to go from struggling to pump enough blood to suddenly beating rapidly and violently against very high pressure. That response is known as reflex tachycardia. It's a lot like revving a car's engine from idle straight to maximum RPMs in a matter of seconds. You're asking a system that is already managing a really delicate transition to suddenly work in absolute overdrive. Now, we also have to factor in a compounding, unseen element here: hemoconcentration. Every single hour you sleep, you are naturally losing water through respiration and perspiration. So by morning, you wake up in a mild state of dehydration. Your overall blood volume has decreased, but all the red blood cells and platelets are still there. This means your blood actually becomes thicker, more viscous and sticky, honestly more like honey than water. So when you jump out of bed, your heart isn't just fighting gravity and delayed pressure sensors, it is working so much harder to pump thickened sludge through newly constricted blood vessels. When you really understand this baseline morning stress, you can easily see how other super common routines might act as compounding stressors. Take drinking strong coffee on a completely empty stomach. That hits your bloodstream incredibly fast, triggering even more adrenaline and spiking blood pressure when the system is already hyperstimulated. Or immediate intense exercise, which demands massive amounts of oxygen before the heart is fully prepared to supply it. Even jumping directly into an ice-cold shower triggers massive peripheral vasoconstriction, meaning thousands of blood vessels slam shut all at once, causing blood pressure to instantly explode upward. While these habits are super popular in wellness circles right now, for a mature cardiovascular system, they may deserve careful attention and are absolutely worth discussing with a qualified medical professional. But the central thesis here is actually really empowering. The issue is not that mornings are somehow dangerous. The issue is simply that the body wakes up in transition, and we so often force it into high gear way before it's ready. True vitality isn't about shocking the system, it's about working with your physiology, not against it. By adopting a much smoother transition protocol, we can profoundly benefit our long-term heart health, just by respecting the delicate shifts in pressure, hydration, and circulation that have to safely occur every morning. Which brings us to a highly practical, totally science-backed 5-minute transition protocol. Minute 1, just stay lying down and breathe. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. This actively modulates that early morning cortisol spike. Minute 2, sit on the edge of the bed and drink a large glass of room temperature water. This immediately begins to reverse that hemoconcentration, literally thinning your blood. Minute 3, while you're still sitting there, make some slow ankle circles to activate the muscle pumps in your calves, fighting gravity before you even stand. Minute 4, gently stretch your neck and shoulders, sending oxygenated blood to those dormant muscles. And finally, minute 5, stand up slowly and just pause for a few seconds to let those internal baroreceptors fully adjust before you walk away. It takes exactly 5 minutes to protect the most delicate transition of your entire day. So I want to leave you with this question. Which minute of the morning transition will you start protecting tomorrow? Will you focus on hydrating first, or maybe simply giving yourself permission to sit on the edge of the bed for just an extra 60 seconds? Your heart has beaten nonstop for decades without ever taking a single break. The absolute least we can do is give it just a few gentle minutes to wake up.